What is the relationship between the Sami and the Nordic countries? Have you ever wondered how the Sami people fit into the history of the Nordic countries? The relationship between the Sami and Norway, Sweden, Finland, and even parts of Russia is rich and complex. The Sami are recognized as the indigenous people of the Arctic and subarctic regions of northern Scandinavia and the Kola Peninsula. Their traditional lands, known as Sápmi, cross the borders of these modern nations, making their connection to the Nordic countries a vital part of both Sami and regional history. For centuries, the Sami lived alongside the ancestors of today's Nordic peoples. They primarily occupied the inland and northernmost areas, relying on reindeer herding, hunting, fishing, and gathering for their livelihood. Meanwhile, the ancestors of the Nordic peoples, like the Norse, settled in the southern and coastal regions. Initially, there was limited interaction between these groups, but as Nordic kingdoms expanded northward, contact increased. This led to both trade and competition over land and resources. Historically, the Sami enjoyed a degree of autonomy and cultural independence. However, from the 18th century onward, the governments of Norway and Sweden began to exert more control over northern territories. This shift brought about policies aimed at assimilating the Sami into the dominant Nordic cultures. These policies often involved suppressing Sami languages and traditions while promoting Scandinavian languages and customs in schools and public life. The 20th century brought further challenges for the Sami. In Norway, laws required knowledge of the Norwegian language to buy or lease land, which led to the displacement of some Sami communities. World War II added to the disruption, particularly in northern Finland and Norway, where homes and cultural sites were destroyed. Despite these obstacles, the Sami have worked hard to maintain their distinct identity. They have revitalized their languages and traditions, gaining recognition as indigenous peoples in the Nordic countries. Today, they have rights to self-determination, language use, and participation in decisions affecting their lands. The Sami are also key players in discussions about Arctic governance, environmental protection, and sustainable development. Their traditional knowledge is increasingly appreciated in efforts to address climate change and manage natural resources in the Arctic. Practical applications of this relationship include the establishment of Sami parliaments in Norway, Sweden, and Finland. These parliaments give the Sami a formal voice in national and regional policy. Additionally, the Sami contribute indigenous perspectives to international Arctic forums, discussing climate change and resource management. Their ongoing efforts to protect their culture and environment highlight the importance of indigenous rights in the polar regions. The relationship between the Sami and the Nordic countries is thus a blend of historical and contemporary elements, marked by both conflict and cooperation.